and we'll alert you when that team arrive, or at least leaves for the bus, and if they'll say anything. Unlikely, perhaps. But let's get an update on the rest of the day's news too with Charlotte.
Thanks, Mark. Lord Mandelson's hit out at the Labour leadership contender Ed Miliband, suggesting he'd be a regressive influence on the party. In an interview with The Times, Lord Mandelson says Mr Miliband would lead Labour into an election. Now, most stadiums are used to visitors bringing the house down, but one venue in Brazil's taken things a bit literally. The Fonte Nova Stadium's been demolished. It's still to make way for a new complex as part of the 2014 World Cup. 700 kilograms of explosives were used to collapse it, and the new building will have the capacity to hold over 50,000 people. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, I'd love to press the button on one of those things and just see the whole thing levelled. I don't know what that says. Maybe as a psychotherapist might want to email this morning. I don't know. But there we are. Thank you very much indeed. Time for the front pages. Very good morning. You're watching Sunrise this Bank Holiday Monday with me, Mark Longhurst. We're live with you until 10 o'clock. Still to come, all the papers with Neil. Rest of the headlines too with Charlotte. But first, we're going to update you. More on that in the papers with Neil fairly shortly. First, let's get the rest of the day's news with Charlotte.
Thank you, Mark. Lord Mandelson's hit out at the Labour leadership contender Ed Miliband, suggesting he'd be a regressive influence on the party. In an interview with The Times, Lord Mandelson said an unknown British actress has beaten some of the world's biggest stars to win an Emmy Award at the 62nd annual ceremony in Los Angeles. Archie Panjabi won Best Supporting Actress for her role in the drama The Good Wife. Other winners at the event, which is seen as the TV equivalent of the Oscars, included Glee's Jane Lynch and also George Clooney, who won a humanitarian award for a Haiti earthquake telethon.
Don't do that.
So here's hoping that some very bright person right here in the room or at home watching can help find a way to keep the spotlight burning on these heartbreaking situations that continue to be heartbreaking long after the cameras go away.
He's got good teeth, isn't he?
The wise words of George Clooney.
Yes.
You'd just believe anything he says, really, couldn't you?
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Thank you. We believe anything Neil says, and his teeth are just as good. Good morning to you. And well, cricket still.
Not as expensive teeth.
Not as expensive, no. You are a bit cheap. That's why you're doing the papers, not George Clooney.
It's a fair point.
However, let's look at the front of the Times, because we are not just dealing with the allegations about these three specific no balls now. I mean, it's widening into a more international look at Pakistan's performances.
Well, the editor of Spin magazine that you had on earlier, we were chatting, and the after effects of this sort of thing, of course, is what else could be involved. The Sun today suggests that the questions about the first test, I don't know what that's based on. Apparently there was an amazing turnaround involving the Pakistanis losing in Sydney a year or so ago. And I have to say, there's the Daily Mail have an excellent cricket correspondent called Paul Newman, and he raises the question today, how on earth can the one-day internationals carry on? How can the 2020s carry on? And yes, you can suspend the main people involved, but you have to recognise the fact that every single act that happens on the field will be called into question. Every one of these will, a missed run-out, say, and what does that mean? It puts the whole series into question.
What would you then say to those cricket fans, you know, if there are members of the Pakistan cricket team who are not involved, should they be punished by not being able to play the one-day series and receive their due accolade, their pay as working cricketers?
Well, plainly, this is one of the ramifications of having people in your team who are prepared to cheat like this.
Because you play as a team. You
play as a team, and I'm afraid you go down as a team as well. And these three that are spotlighted, or is it four, they have cast a shadow over every one of their teammates. And I don't see how the game, this series can seriously continue.
And the other question about Pakistan's involvement then in international cricket on a longer-term basis, because of now so many senior cricketers coming out saying, well, we weren't quite sure about this. I mean, Sydney, for instance, the test of Australia. So,
you know, when you look at what happened with Hansa Kronya, there was a single player. This is three players at least. This suggests it is more involved, shall we say, than simply one bad apple.
Cuts in the SAS. He who dares, doesn't.
Well,
basically.
quite. I mean, plainly, there are a huge number of issues that have to be tackled as the Tories and the Lib Dems restructure the economy. But the idea that as part of defence cuts, you cut into the SAS, and I know they say it's veterans and the TA units. Well, if you remember with Bravo 20, one of those guys, Chris Ryan, was from the Territorials. The Territorial SAS are a hugely significant part of what they do.
How do you actually tell a member of the SAS you're sacked? Apart from carefully.
With great courage.
Exactly.
By telephone.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, long distance. Now, we did promise you this. So here he is in all his glory at the age of, nearly 70. It is Sir Cliff Richard, as we've not seen him since, 1963. Not looking an awful lot different apart from the hairdo.
I'm sorry, this can't be right, can it? It simply cannot
Shouldn't be allowed.
It is neither right nor fair. As a middle-aged man, he said proudly, I don't know anybody of 70 who looks like this. How on earth does he do it?
Well, I've got a theory here, because I reckon, if you look very carefully, the map of chest hair differs somewhat to 1963. Is it actually Cliff, we wonder?
And why isn't the chest hair grey? Apparently, he says that the secret of his eternal youth is tennis 3 times a week, 2 glasses of red wine a day, and a daily dose of lecithin, if I can pronounce that, a supplement derived from soybeans, meat and eggs. And he also spent 3 years following the blood type diet, which means he no longer eats wheat or dairy. He says age is not an issue. I hear that 60 is the new 40.
Now, this is what I really
Mark,
hate. His
how do you
waist
feel
is
about
just
that?
30 inches, same as 30 years ago, and he weighs just 10 stone 7 pounds.
Good for him, I think, and more men should take note of this.
You're
that,
not married by any
age
chance, are
isn't-
you?
And he's living healthy living, and there's the proof of it.
He's only 4'2". Though.
Yeah, and they don't show that he's shaved his legs as well, probably. Anyway, OK, on to Paris Hilton. I mean, what is she doing? You know,
Well,
she had the whole world of feet, financially at least, and...
Yes, but, you know, I think what we have to understand here, that this is a very, very unlucky young woman. This is a young woman on a whole number of occasions has unfortunately been in the same location where drugs have accidentally been found on the person sat next to her.
Wow.
And it is never her. It happened in South Africa, if you remember. It's happened in America before. It happened in France. But it isn't her fault. She happened to be in the company of somebody else who had them every time.
Maybe it's the surname, you know, Hilton, and you just think, well, you know, I'll get blamed for everything that happens in these hotels, but there we are.
What makes me smile is the smile on her face. She's been busted. She's in Vegas. She's in jail.
That's her prison photo. She
Yeah,
has
it's the
got a
best
certain
prison
house.
photo we've seen since, well, I won't name any names, but there we are. Thank you very much indeed for that, and we'll see what happens with that cricket for the rest of the week. Taunton, here we come, as they say.
You're talking about it again.
Indeed, we will. Thank you. Indeed, reaction coming in from you by email and text message. Keep them coming in. news@sky.com, 84514, text messages. Let's get an update too on the rest of the headlines with Charlotte.
Thank you, Mark. Lord Mandelson's hit out at the Labour leadership contender Ed Miliband, suggesting he would be a regressive influence on the party. In an interview with The Times, Lord Mandelson says Mr Miliband would lead. Now, most stadiums are used to visitors bringing the house down, but one venue in Brazil has taken things a bit too far. The Fonte Nova Stadium's been demolished. It's all to make way for a new complex as part of the 2014 World Cup. There it goes. 700 kilograms of explosives were used to collapse it, and the new building will have the capacity to hold over 50,000 people. It's incredible, actually, just how quickly. 1 minute it's there, and the next minute it's gone.
Blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah. Wonder who's going to do all the cleaning up.
I was
That's
going
not
to
a nice
say,
job,
yes.
is it?
You need a big broom for that, don't you? Thank you very much. A look at the front pages.